Dear viewers, welcome to the third edition of the PSP e-newsletter. Today we have the pleasure to record at this beautiful and exquisite hotel, Pearl Beach, found in the western region of Mauritius. Today we are going to discuss on import elements, and our guest that we are going to have for this interview is none other than Mr. Mohabeer, Head of Department of the Maritime Security at the Indian Ocean Commission. Today with our chief guest for the interview, we are going to discuss on some important elements. We are going to discuss on the importance of PSP and for the beneficiary countries, how PSP will be a game changer in the port security program, the difference between PSP and MASE, and the role and responsibilities of each of our implementing partners. Be with us, we are going to bring to you important information. Thank you. Welcome to the third e-newsletter of the program on port security and safety of navigation in Eastern Africa, Southern Africa and the Indian Ocean region. Funded to the tune of 28 million euros, the program is coordinated by the Indian Ocean Commission and co-implemented by diverse partners, namely IMO, Interpol and UNODC. The aim is to inform different levels of stakeholders connected to this project about the continuous efforts to protect the maritime ecosystem. But it is also key to ensure that people become aware about the importance of ports in the regions, on the threats and illegal activities. To discuss with us today, we have the pleasure to welcome Mohabeer.
Thank you, Vidur.
Economist by profession, Mr. Mohabeer is currently working at the Indian Ocean General Secretariat since the year 2000. He is the head of Department of Economic Affairs with the portfolio of economic cooperation, trade, regional integration and infrastructure and maritime security. Mr. Mohabeer, having extensive and deep knowledge of the region, has been contributing to the further advancement of the regional integration and closely working with neighboring regional organizations in a varied number of areas, starting from regional integration, promotion of trade, economic cooperation and maritime security. He is also in charge of the promotion of the interests of small island developing states. Mr. Raj, as head of department for the Indian Ocean Commission, what is the importance of the port security program for the beneficiary countries as well as the IOC region?
See, we Western Indian Ocean region and the southern part of the Western Indian Ocean region is a region, I would say, one of the most intense in terms of maritime traffic. Just to give you an example of an idea of the traffic in the Western Indian Ocean region, in 2021, I initiated a survey of the number of vessel trips in the along the coast of the Eastern African region. And there was something like 200,000 vessel trips, vessels with AIS. And we know that in the southern part of the Indian Ocean, there is a very huge traffic coming from the east, from Asia, going South Africa and then to Europe and to America, and it is estimated that there is also several hundred thousands of vessel trips per year. Another example of the traffic in the region is that in the Western Indian Ocean region, we have something like 5,000 tanker trips with oil amounting to something like 500 to 600 million tons of crude oil.
That's huge.
So you can imagine that this traffic poses a great threat to the countries of this region, and hence it is very important to regulate this traffic so that the vessels that are passing by, they have a certain level of security, a certain level of seaworthiness of the vessels, and that the protective measures that they need to undertake and ensure that they have it in the vessels, that this is respected. Of course, there are international conventions like the ISPS code.
Yes.
So this project tends to get the countries to be up to the standards as set by these international conventions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Raj. You know, when we talk about PSP, how PSP is going to be a game changer in the port security ecosystem, and what are the major challenges one may expect in the ports?
Look, in reality, we have to admit that the level of surveillance of security measures and adherence to security measures and safety of navigation
Yes.
is not to an average which can be said that it is an international standard in the region. We'll have to accept that.
Yeah.
The level of inspection at the ports and the level of inspection of vessels at sea is definitely too low. So we believe that this project will enable a certain threshold in terms of the compliance to security level at the ports and at sea, which will then enable this region to be considered as a safe region for safety of navigation and safety at the ports, but more importantly also, that it will decrease substantially the amount of traffic that we see happening in the region. In the recent past, we've seen that there were lots of piracy activities, and as you know, most probably, that there has been at least more than 3,328 hostages due to piracy. The last ones were released in March last year only. So that's to give you an example and to give you a level of the risk that it poses in the region. Now, the piracy is considered to be controlled, fully controlled. There has been no successful piracy attacks since several years, which is a good sign. But on the contrary, when we look at the other maritime traffic, such as IU fishing, such as drug trafficking, such as traffic of arms, such as human trafficking, and the risks as posed for marine pollution, we should not forget about Wakasho.
Yes.
And we should not forget that after Wakasho, there has been at least 8 vessels which were stuck at sea. 2 still on the agenda. You remember the vessel which is still stuck with 78 tons of fuel in the lagoon of Saint-Brando. There was another vessel which was overturned due to the Freddy cyclone, where we estimate that there were 16 staff of the vessel which are not found now. Most probably they are drowned, we don't know. But that vessel now is overturned. It will not sink, but it will continue to be in the sea and will pose a threat. So to tell you that all these traffic and all the threats that I just mentioned will significantly be reduced if we get the countries to achieve a certain level of security measures in line with the conventions for, such as SOLAS and ISPS code, and in line with the needs for a certain level of security at the ports.
Thank you. So coming to our next question, there are several implementing partners in this program, and they are working closely with the Indian Ocean Commission in implementing, this project. How important are the contribution of each partner in this PSP program?
See, when we are talking about vessels and movement of vessels, you have the International Maritime Organization.
Yes.
The IMO develops measures which are endorsed by the international community within its own policy organs, And normally, when these measures are endorsed, it means that the countries and the vessels and vessel owners are supposed to adhere to them. So we expect that the IMO rules and regulations are respected by all and everyone.
Yes.
So we have believed that IMO is a key partner to ensure that part of the responsibility for ensuring a certain adequate level of security measures are being entertained. So IMO is part of the program as an implementing agency. Then, as I mentioned, that there are so many traffic and the problems at sea. UNODC is the United Nations Office for Drug and Control and Combating for Drugs. So not just drugs, but also other different types of traffic. So UNODC is part of the program in order to ensure that measures are developed on how we could ensure that the certain level of regulations and laws are passed, and also that these are respected and capacities are built in the program by UNODC to ensure that these are respected. And then we have Interpol. As you know, when there is traffic from one country to another, it means that the jurisdiction depends on national level, but you have Interpol, which is, in the international police.
Yes.
So we need to collaborate between the different police from the different countries. So Interpol is also the third implementing partner in the program. We believe that by establishing tools to enable exchange of information from one police to the other, and then also to try to set certain measures on how to target particular traffics, that will help to implement the program. So you have IMO, UNODC, Interpol, and of course IOC is there to facilitate, coordinate the project, but not that just, but to also establish a sort of a network of institutions concerned by the passenger traffic in the region, and also the cargo traffic in the region.
Okay. So you're considered to be the pioneer of the MASE and PSP program. But let me ask you, both are funded by the European Union. How distinct are these programs? Do they complement each other, or they're completely different?
They definitely complement each other. There is no duplication in the two projects. I can assure you about that. We have to understand that the MASE program is a program which enables the region to monitor the movement of the vessels and identify abnormal movement of vessels. And this is done by the Regional Maritime Information Fusion Center, which is based in Madagascar, which is linked also to the national centers and other centers at the international level. So we'll need to have a comprehensive maritime picture of the movement of the vessels in the whole of the Western Indian Ocean region. So that's one of the two main components of the MASE program. And the second very important component of the MASE program is to then, based on the identified vessel of interest, it means that when a vessel is doing maybe some funny things that it requires to be inspected, then the Regional Coordination of Operations Center, which is based in Seychelles, then gets the countries to mobilize their assets, aerial and maritime assets together, to go and do the inspection at sea.
Yes.
So these two components of the MASE program, which are interlinked, which is unique in the whole world, is not at all doing what the port security project is doing. So in a sense, both are complementary, and they are, but we need, of course, to ensure that there are some leaks that are done. As I said, that in the port security project, we have to establish a sort of a network of institutions relating to movement of passengers and movement of cargo, so we can link up and see how these movements of the vessels with maybe doing some traffic can be then linked up with the MASE program, so that those which are doing traffic can be declared as VOIs and then the RCOC can go and inspect those vessels. So this is how these two projects are complementary and working and expected to be working together. For the time being, the regional mechanism and tools under the PSP, under the Port Security Project, is not yet fully defined. And that's why, for the time being, the collaboration is not yet set.
Okay.
So at some point in time, when the network of concerned institutions and the agreement on how this information may be exchanged will be developed, at that time then we will link up and we'll see how it is linked up to RIMFC,
yes,
mostly.
As you know, the viewers of our 9 beneficiary countries and 3 observing countries are watching us. Any final word for our stakeholders, for our viewers you want to give?
Look, as I said in the beginning, that we have to agree that the level of security and risks associated to illegal or threats at the ports and at sea is a responsibility of the international community, but also of the countries of the region. And the level of efforts put by the countries of the region is clearly inadequate.
Okay.
For example, if I'm asking which country is undertaking what percentage of inspection of vessels at ports, you can be surprised to see that there is very low. How many containers are being checked? Again, you'll be surprised that it is very low, yes, as compared to the number of containers transiting from the region, in the region. So we'll need to agree on a threshold of a regional policy on the level of risks that would be acceptable, and that would, convey the message to the whole world that, this region is safe for navigation, but also the ports also safe, and there is minimal traffic that are being done. So in that context, we are working to organize a ministerial conference on a regional policy for port security and safety of navigation. I hope that we'll be able to reach to a certain level of the targets as compared to other regions in the world, and that we will achieve that regional policy for port security and safety of navigation.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
being my guest today. All the best for the future.
Thank you, Vidu.
I wish to thank all the viewers who have watched this interview. Let me give you a rendezvous with another guest in another location. Till then, bye-bye. See you soon.